Hi, everybody. This is Ebby Salinas of Crowology and also from Crow Readings. And today we're going to be covering the archetypes of the numbers 1 through 9 and combining it with the tarot decks. All right. So we're taking the major arcana, not the Fool, but we're taking the major arcana cards from 1, the Magician, all the way through to the Hermit. I recommend that you may want to watch this video a couple of times, pull out your own deck so that you can associate it with the numbers and get a feel for them. And I hope that during this shot that you're going to kind of embrace them as your friends. All right. And do me a favor. This is going to really help you as you start learning how to combine all the birthdays together. Look at your immediate family and your friends, those close relationships, add up the birthdays, bring it to a reduced number, and then find out what tarot card is matches that number. And the more often you do that, that you associate the personality types around you to the tarot card, it's going to come so instinctively to you. At some point, you're going to be able to not even know somebody's birth date. You're just going to automatically have the tarot resonate with you and what kind of personality type they are. So this is a great tool. I don't even remember where I learned it, but it's something I use all the time. So we're going to go through on this playlist, we're going to go through all from 1 through 9. But we're going to take it a playlist at a time. So right now we're going to start with the Magician. All right. So you'll notice. Oh, and another thing, I've been hanging out today with my producer, Ileana from Everyday Crystal Magic. So she's here to join in not only on the fun, but to bring the fun with us. So hi, Ileana, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. I don't know about the fun, and thank you so much for inviting me to this because cards were my first love of my first modality, and I didn't understand how to read them or pull them together until you started teaching me. And in the understanding of the tarot, at the beginning I was a purist, and then I opened, thanks to you, I opened up to the oracle decks, especially Lenormand. So I hope I ask smart questions and questions that help the audience that, like me, are learning this modality.
Well, you call yourself somebody who's learning, but I actually met you like in 2016. I think it was 20. Was it further than that?
Yeah, 2014, I believe.
Oh, 2014.
Yeah, when I moved over there.
Okay, it was 2014, and we met at the Second Sunday Tarot group that out here in the Chicagoland area, which is still going strong, 15 years this year. So happy anniversary to my friends and family at the Second Sunday Tarot. So yes, I look forward for you to let's have fun with this. Let's just have a lot of fun, okay? So we're going to start with the Magician. And you will notice that I have 3 glasses filled with not wine, but Coke. And the first glass to the far left, you'll see has very little beverage in it. The middle one has half a glass. And then the one to the far right is completely full. And the reason why I'm using these glasses with beverage in it, with liquid, is to show you the energy. The far left is a glass that has nothing, very depleted. The goal is to be in the middle, which is balance. All right. And now I'm going to explain to you how that comes to be. With the Magician, you'll notice that he holds his hand up to the sky and points down to the earth with his other hand. And that is because through his magic, through his infinite magic, nothing below can be done without the source of what's above him. And in the table in front of him, he has the cup, the sword, the rod, okay? And let me see, and the coin, the pentacle. So everything this Magician needs is in front of him to use. Those are all his skills. So by being balanced, he's able to use his magic as he wishes, when he wishes. If he is depleted of energy, the far left glass, he doesn't have the belief or the ability to use any of these tools. He squanders his energy because he's done nothing with it. On the far right, that is the glass that is almost overflowing. His energy is all over the place. It's not concentrated. It is just chaos with his energy. So you can see where how important it is to be balanced. So a person whose birthday adds up to a 1, the magician, is very innovative, takes the lead. And yes, he tends to think of himself first, but it's more about somebody who has self-confidence and the leadership qualities. And these are the archetypes, which is different than the cycles. We're talking about the personalities. Do you have anything you want to add, Ileana?
I wanted to say that for me, when I was learning, something that helped me was to associate people that I know to the cards. And it came naturally. It's not that I was trying to go in my mind and say, oh, which person I will assign this card to. And I will always remember the magician because I had a coworker many years ago that to me, he was the embodiment of the magician because he was a subject matter expert in his field. He was such a happy person in that environment. Like I remember once that I asked, when are you going to retire? And to him, that was like not a question because he enjoyed what he did.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
the time driving to work, spending time there, the people he was surrounded by, and he, with his overwhelming workload, he still had time to teach, to be a mentor. And for me, every time that I see that card, it reminds me of him. I guess that's the positive aspect that I see on the magician. I don't know his birthday.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going by the attributes.
And that works. Like for me, when I see the magician, I think of my brother. One of my brothers, his birthday adds up to a 1. And he's very talented. He's a musician, very talented. He has very much an engineer mind. But because he tends to lean more towards the left, he tends to need a lot of time alone. And he tends to separate himself from a group. He can be playing in his band in front of a lot of people, but then again, he needs that downtime to be alone. And I find that very interesting, how that works. Okay, so this was the magician. So
before we move into the next card is so you mentioned in this major arcana the aspect of balance. I never thought about that, but I can see how somebody that has the attributes of magic or expertise can go out, can lose his way or her way in this. So what about when you have that card? Would that be the meaning of the card upside down? And I know there's a lot of discussion.
Good point.
I know there's a lot of discussion because there are people who don't read reverse. I do.
Right. Yeah, I do too.
I do.
Well, since we're just doing their archetypes, the reverse in this situation would be the card that is the extreme of either one of those classes. So you're absolutely right. So if this is a person, if the magician is leadership, innovative, original thought, uses his magic, uses what's before him, in reverse, this is a person who does not like to take the lead, or a person who is very me. Do you see how the extremes, those two extremes, come into place?
Can it be also a person who doesn't want to embrace his or her talents?
which would be the glass that is almost empty. Yeah. So they don't use the tools that are before them. What a waste to have all this talent and not use it, right?
It might be an issue of beliefs.
Exactly. It can
Everything
only
is.
be, everything is. So could it be that this person is fearful or doesn't want to have the responsibility because they don't want to be dependent on? You know, there's so many things.
So let me ask you before we move to the next one. Is there age associated with talent and expertise?
I think it is. I think there's a lot to be said for the young magician, who, as opposed to one who has saged their way into being more in their senior years. Wisdom has a lot to do with it. But you know, the whole 1 through 9 of the major arcana is the journey of the fool. So the fool starts off as the fool, goes to be the attributes of the magician, and then ends with being the hermit. So it is, right, enlightenment, wisdom, and that is how it unfolds. That's why I love tarot. It has that story of the journey of the fool, you know, and it's such a lovely and true, very true story.
I love tarot. I guess everybody knows my bias towards that. So that's awesome. And after the magician, we have
the high priestess. So after the fool has learned the talents of the magician, now it is about the two personality. So if the month, day, and year of the birthday adds up to being reduced to a single digit of the two, what we have here is a person who goes more, taps into more their psychic abilities, their intuition, their gut instincts. She rules the subconscious and the dream state. Okay. And once you look at the tarot card and you see she's, you know, what she holds in her hand, and she's got the moon symbol in her hat, these are all things that point to the subconscious, the underworld, the dream state, right? The high priestess also is connected to the conscious, the subconscious. They have to work together. They're married together. So along with that, the number 2 is about partnerships. You know, so somebody who likes balance. But this is when you look at the glass that is very low on beverage. This is a person that may really cling to partnerships, one-on-one partnerships, not really liking to be on their own, and yearns for that connection to another person. So that's another attribute of the 2. The other extreme is when there's so much energy, everything all of a sudden is a psychic prediction. Everything is overboard because they're getting in all these messages and stuff, and they don't know how to just calm the hell down and just marinate in things and let them happen in balance. They're just too much into that. Same thing with the minimal glass. They're so much into their dream state that they avoid coming up for air.
You know, that's what you're saying is interesting, because there are people who are always trying to look for meaning, even in the more mundane things. This crystal broke into pieces. Well, have you thought that you shouldn't have put it in the sun from sunrise to sunset?
Well,
or pulled it away? Well, there's a selenite. You shouldn't put selenite in water.
Well, you know what I always say is everything means everything, and nothing means nothing. You know, it all depends on what comes up for you. So if you have somebody who, when they're excessive, when the glass is overflowing with frequency, this is a person that never taps into their subconscious. They avoid meditation. They avoid that connection with their, well, you're always connected to your higher self, but they're not really putting the effort to connect. They're just, because they're too into the outside environment, that they avoid it. So
you would take that as the High Priestess reverse?
Yes, absolutely. Because the reverse is going to be the one extreme or the other. The upright is the balance.
Okay. To me, every time that I saw the High Priestess in a reading, it will be, and I don't know, I always defaulted to that interpretation. Things that are occult and you cannot
Right.
see in a situation. It might be a bit paranoid, but I will add that yes, there are hidden things here,
Mhm.
but of the higher order, meaning that no matter how much effort you put in doing a deep dive here, that's a deep dive that you probably it's a losing proposition. That was my interpretation. I have to say that still I struggle a little bit with the meaning.
Yeah, I like that too, because not everything is going to be revealed in the time that you want it revealed. Sometimes we're just not at that capacity to understand, what is coming to us. And it's not until, how it's like when we say, using the weather of Illinois, it is not okay for me to be here in the winter. It's cold. I don't like it. I don't like shoveling. Well, that was not okay for me to be here. But at some point, it would be okay for me to be here in the winter. I may hire somebody to shovel my snow. I may have my car in a garage, and therefore the winter is now okay for me. So whatever was not okay can become okay. Whatever was okay eventually becomes not okay. Everything changes, and we got to roll with those changes.
Let me ask you another question about the High Priestess in terms of timing, because many people that look up for consultations in these areas, they want to know the perfect timing of everything. So does the High Priestess tell you a time frame, a material
Yes.
time frame?
When I use time frames, I go to the regular 1 through 10 of the tarot. But the High Priestess, when I see her show up, there's usually going to be something surrounding a change in the moon. It's going to relate to a moon phase because she is ruled by the moon.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not a moon person, so
Yeah.
I will miss that one. Oh my God, I just made a confession here. I will miss that one. What about shadow work? Would you attribute shadow work to the High
Oh,
Priestess?
yes, absolutely.
Upside down or
Well, going
the
again,
normal?
when we're looking at the archetype, that's what I'm trying to spit out. When you're looking at the archetype, the goal is always to be balanced. If it's too much one way or the other, you've got some work to do there, because it's not a good feeling. And if you would just sit and see what resonates within yourself, figure out the beat of your own drum, your frequency. You can tell when you're not resonating in balance, when you're anxious or resistant. That's a good time for you to be looking at your shadow work.
I have another question before we move on to the next. How do you apply all these attributes of the High Priestess in a reading for a man?
Same thing. To me, there's no difference. There may be a little, because some men are sensitive, some women, I tend to know a lot of women who have a lot of masculine energy, so male energy is what they work with. So I tend to phrase things more in the way of energetic and frequency rather than gender.
Oh, that's interesting. And in terms of crystals, there's they associate moonstone, obvious reason, to feminine energies. However,
in astrology, the moon is feminine and the sun is male.
Yeah, but one interesting thing about moonstone is that it brings balance of energies in both men and women.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that people don't look, because it's taken as a women's crystal or divine goddess crystal, which will be the High Priestess, the divine goddess.
Right.
But there are energies that transcend gender and need to be balanced.
Right.
And Moonstone does that. So
Right.
that's
And
interesting.
it is, isn't it? It's interesting how that is, that she represents the moon, and then you bring in the moonstone, and then you bring, I mean, it all works together. And even the astrology of it all works together.
That's great. So what's the next? It will be
The Empress. So if the month, day, and the year, when you add them up and reduce it to a single digit, if it comes out to a 3, when you are balanced, and until you get good at this on your own, take a look at the picture. When you are balanced in your energy, this is an archetype of a person who is creative, nurturing, has good communication skills, has great ideas, knows how to have these ideas and perpetuate them, help them grow. In fact, this is a person who people go to all the time for assistance, not only for advice, but just because the creativity and the energy of their creativity, they love being around it. Things and people grow around the Empress. You'll notice in the tarot card, she has Venus inscribed in a heart. She has all this foliage around her, just everything. She is the eternal mother, so here we have the male energy of the magician, the female energy of the subconscious, and now we have the mother, Mother Nature here. And so when it's balanced, that's how it goes. When it's depleted, we have somebody who's not so nurturing, not so creative, doesn't communicate well, in reverse. You can also take it as in reverse. When it's to the right and they're overflowing with this energy, they have so many ideas that nothing gets done. They're scattered because it's an overflow. It's obsessing. The energy is not balanced. So do you have a question on that?
Well, I've never thought of the Empress as scatter, and I guess is a paradigm. She's an Empress.
Yeah, but think
she
of
has
this.
command of herself. That's
If
interesting.
she's balanced, but how many of us know people who we love animals? For the most part, we will never really run into somebody who doesn't love pets and animals. How many of us know people, though, who have an excess amount of pets because they have this need to mother all these lost pets, rescue all these pets, and now they're in excess. It's not like 2 or 3 cats. They now have 5, 7 cats, 4 dogs, because it's excessive energy, the excessive need to mother something to the point of smothering them. So do you see? Depleted energy is somebody who lacks nurturing and maternal instinct. The extreme opposite is the smothering mother, the controlling mother. And then in the middle is exactly what you described, the one who is in her own power. Yeah.
So the cat lady's an Empress upside down.
Upside down.
Does that has to do in the attributes? It has to do with a person also in need of love, that feels that is not love.
They will love you to death. They will love you to death because they are what is the word? Insatiable, because they just cannot get enough. Whereas the other one, the extreme opposite, doesn't want to feel it. They're shut off from, this is from nurturing, not necessarily love, nurturing. Any kind of nurturing and growth, because the 6th card, the card of lovers, that would be more love. This is the nurturing, the mechanics of being maternal and nurturing and caring in that way. Creative, communicative.
And And in terms of timing, again, because that's the
Mhm.
question everybody asked.
Uh-huh.
What is the timing of the Empress?
Well, that when you see the Empress, this is somebody who's ready to give birth to something they're creating, whether it's creating an idea or actually literally giving birth, you know? So that would be within whatever time period of what you're giving birth would be, you know? So if you
Oh.
find out you're throwing cards for somebody and she shows up, and to me, when I see that card, it points to a pregnancy, or it can point to giving birth to an idea, a business, or something else that you're working on.
And it will take that long? That's the symbol,
Well, it
the
depends. It
timeline
depends.
attached?
It depends. If you're giving birth to a child, it's going to be within that 9 months, right? Or whatever. But if it's for a business, then I would look at whatever other cards are around it for
Okay.
assistance.
The
Because
surrounding
she's the tipping off that something is coming that you're giving birth to.
Oh, what
Yeah.
about same question as in the Empress? What about the symbol? Same question as in the High Priest. What about that for a man reading?
It would be the same thing, because he gives birth to business, he gives birth to ideas. If he's going to have a child, his woman would be the one that's, you know, so this would represent still that a child is coming.
Would that speak of the qualities of the woman having his child, or
Depending on it depends on the question. Because if you're
Oh.
asking about him, it's
Mhm.
going to speak to him. If you're asking about the qualities of his partner, it's going to speak to that.
Oh,
Okay.
so
But as far
ideally,
as,
you don't want in a situation of pregnancy an Empress upside down.
well, here's the thing. Is it representing somebody who's struggling with the pregnancy? Some people are bedridden for their entire time, you know? So again, if we're strictly talking about an archetype personality, now we're talking about somebody whose personality is nurturing and stuff like that. When you're throwing cards on a question, that's a different thing. It's still a maternal thing, but if she's upside down, and depending on what other cards are around her, you'll get more information.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Well, that's another card that.
Oh my God, that's why I do love tarot, because there's 78 cards there for a reason. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is true. That's
Okay.
awesome.
So this brings us to the end of the first 3 cards, and we're going to be going up to the number 9 card of the Hermit. But for now, this is on our playlist. I'd like to invite you to hit subscribe and like. And what I'd really love is if you would make your comments below on what it is that you would like us to cover, or like me to cover. If you have any pressing questions, if you have if you're hooked up on something that doesn't make sense, or you have where are you? Where are you on your learning? Are you a professional? Are you an expert? Are you a beginner, moderate? Let me know about your favorite decks. I am telling you, some of my friends have like in the thousands. I am not kidding. Janet, talking to you. Well over 3,000 cards. Quite a few of them have a few hundred. I myself have just probably under 70 by now. And you may start with great intentions of you only need 1 or 2 decks, but I promise you, you will be investing money in more cards. So like I said, let me know about your favorite things and what trips you up, and be happy to answer any questions. And let's move on to the next.